Dear viewers, Little Wings Holistic Childhood Center once again is back with you. And you know that every Saturday we are coming up with a lot more of discussions on this platform, which are so beneficial to our listeners, the viewers. And today, once again, it has become very specific because two countries are connected, India and Bangladesh. And of course, we commit that we are going to have the most beautiful session today on something so substantial which probably has not been much in use in today's scenario of education institutions. Especially when we talk about learning skills, it's very important for all of us to talk about 21st century skills. How a child with learning skills would cruise its path to reach out to the destination of life is the most important worry in the minds of the parents today. It's very important, even otherwise, to know that if these children are blessed with those 21st century skills, how happy they would be in due course of time, how beautifully they would be living up their lives, and how beautifully they would be facing all the challenges and oddities. That's very important, and this is what we are going to disclose today. We are not going to waste much of the time because I am pretty sure you all must be waiting for the veteran speakers on this platform today who are going to help us out understand what are 21st century skills and how those skills can be incorporated in our framework of educational pursuits. So let me once again, first of all, welcome our participants on this platform today. Lamia. Lamia is one educationist who is an associate professor and academic counselor at Bangladesh University of Professionals. Lamia, welcome on this platform.
Thank you. Thank you, Nishesh, and thanks to all the viewers for inviting me here. And I really am happy to be connected with Little Wings. And it's a pleasure to be here. And I'm looking forward to have this session with all of you.
But here doesn't end up. Probably I have to tell you, dear viewers, that Lamia has worked in educational sector in many countries. She has extended her support to China, the Netherlands, United Kingdom. Postgraduate in education from the University of Manchester and postgraduate science in botany from University of Dhaka. That has been a beautiful combination, I must tell you, that a teacher who is a postgraduate in science and then further takes up education as another postgraduate to extend support to make educational pursuits even stronger in due course. Well, she has been the member of International Forum, a lot many others, which probably the list will be very long if I keep on speaking on that. But in one word, I can say that her experiences are as such that children are mentored not only at the lower level of education, when we call about pre-primary, primary or secondary, but going to universities and colleges also children are being mentored by her, and she has been counseling those people to take up decisions in regard with their career. Welcome once again, Lamia. Now coming to the second speaker of this session today, it's another Herculean personality, Mehzavi. Mehzavi, welcome on this platform.
Thank you, Nishish.
Now Mehzavi is an in charge of advanced level department of university, placement services and department. And she is working as present at Sunnydale, Dhaka in Bangladesh. Now the most important factor that basically for today's session would be there that we have been exchanging the ideas and ideologies of using 21st century skills in two different countries. Because, 21st century skills are the same for every individual. But how do we really maneuver that and how do we use those skills in our educational system is the most important aspect. And hence, I am pretty sure that by and large, when we proceed towards these discussions, dear viewers, dear parents, you would be highly motivated to know more about it. And not only that, you would also love to know how much do we at Little Wings Holistic Childhood Center do in order to help your child learn these skills and become an integral, important individual of society. Because tomorrow they are going to be the society makers and the nation builders. The generation that is now is likely to come up with a lot more of insights and lot more of visions for another generations yet to come. So we have to basically strengthen those generations, and we have to carry on our services to educational world. Well, so let us begin this session. I hope both of you are ready for that, Lamia and Mahzaleen.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Looking forward, yes.
Yeah, it's so beautiful to be connected with you. First thing, I would come to Lamia first of all to know that what really are those skills which are termed as 21st century skills. This is very important question because people must know
Yes,
all
of
the
course.
skills are there. Yes. So
Yeah.
what are those skills, Lamia, and what are your opinions about it? Yes, please.
What I would like to first say that we, as an educators and general public, we have understanding of our traditional fundamental building blocks that actually underpin the learning system. And in this system, we actually refer basically that's a fundamental learning skills I'm talking about is reading, writing, arithmetic. This we think as a basic of our learnings, right? But in 21st century, it is more than that because our the entire nation world has changed a lot. So in 21st century, skills are more important to students than they were ever before. And these skills not only provide a framework for successful learning in the classroom, but they actually ensures that the students can thrive in the world. And
Right.
in this actually this constant changing world, and there's a never ending of learning here. So we need to make our student with equipped with different sets of skills. So
Right.
now these skills we are talking about, the 21st century skills, we can basically segregate them in four broad categories. And these categories, I think we can say that communication skill, collaboration skill, critical thinking, and creativity. These four broad category are basically called the 21st century skills. But each of these category has a huge domain under it.
Right.
So,
Right.
uh, for example, if I talk about critical thinking skill, so what do we actually mean by critical thinking skill? Right. The critical thinking includes like skills such as questioning, predicting, investigating, hypothesizing, and analyzing, and reflecting all their understanding, right? And revisioning and comparing that issue or comparing that understanding with others' view, and the same time evaluating that as well. And at the end, they're forming their own opinion. So they are
Okay.
producing their opinion. So all these things actually under, we can say, under critical thinking skill. So when we say as critical thinking, then we have to look into all these aspects as well. Like the critical thinking, for example, involves like inquiry process, how the students are going to inquiry about an issue, about a problem that they want to solve, like exploring the issues. So under critical thinking, there are so many things they need to look into. Again, if I say that communication skill, what do I mean by communication skill? It is not a single skill, like right. So it is an effective oral and written communication.
Right.
So whenever we are talking about oral and written communication in this world, And of course, the information comes, the media literacy comes, and at the same time, as we are exchanging, the communication is between not between only two persons. There are so many people involved while we communicate, right? So whenever we are not only getting information, but we are also putting our thoughts. So in that time, ethical decisions also comes along. So under communication, we also need to teach our student our ethical decision making skills as well. And at the same time, the student also need to understand their personal responsibility about that communication or the information they have shared. So this is also needs to be also very articulated, or very much the educators need to look into, the parents need to look into how the skills we can improve, how we
Right.
can incorporate.
Lamia, I would
Yes.
intervene here. I mean, since you have already spoken about two beautiful, broad skills which are termed as 21st century skills. One that you talked about creativity, and another that you have talked about communications. And
Critical
rightly,
thinking and communication.
all right,
Yes.
create critical thinking and communication. Rightly said. Now, I mean, one question in terms of communication comes to my mind when you were referring to the use of media, wherein the children nowadays are very much into communicating on the website, communicating on the digital media, getting connected with all sort of gadgets and implementations of IT basically are the dire need of the hours. Now during this communication, children are there is just a question in my mind. I hope parents also must be thinking about it. That
Mhm.
during this communication, children might be there to a large extent affected with something which is undesirable, something that probably is not required to be that. So for this, I would come down to Mahjavi for that. Do you also think in this direction that this can be a volatile situation when the children are given a free hand to handle the gadgets and go for the IT communication or maybe the websites or any other digital platform? Yes, Mahjavi, what are your opinions about
Yes,
it?
Nishesh, I think it's very, very important now to look at this factor because we have had a drastic change from offline to online. Now, all the children, before we used to keep our children away from the devices, but now we are handing them the devices to be with them the whole day, almost the whole day.
Yes,
Half of the day they are having the classes, then they are doing the assignments, then for refreshment or for recreation they are playing games. So almost the whole day they are into these devices. Even if we want to meet someone, we cannot do that in person, so we have a Zoom meeting with our friends also. So we cannot keep them away from this kind of social media or the device. But at the same time, we must be very, very particular about the monitoring. Monitoring is very important because, the children are exposed to a very extensive, huge platform of information. The
yes,
information, yes, the information, like, they should be able to understand which information is right for them and which information is not appropriate for them. They are being targeted for cyberbullying, like their privacy is invaded. Some of the children are getting offensive images, or all of a sudden something pops up which they are not aware of. Some of the children don't have any idea what is this, so it comes as a shock to them, and we have
right,
faced this, yes.
right, right.
And there are so much of inappropriate content, so we have to make them understand, we have to teach them this kind of things, like what is appropriate and what is inappropriate for them. So I
Right.
think the parents, teachers, they play a very big role here, because they need to monitor, and we as teachers, we as educators, we need to make them learn the right and the wrong. They should be able to differentiate between this difference.
Correct, Majibin. Dear viewers, let me make it very clear to you all that though children are exposed maximum to the digital world today, and they are given a free hand to use all the gadgets in order to learn, at the same time there is always a threat, and hence it's very very important for all the parents to realize that all those tasks are to be monitored precisely. Those tasks are to be there under your supervision. And hence, your quality time, as it was required even earlier, nowadays is more required to ensure that your children do not get affected with something undesirable and they learn and grow by and large in such a way that they turn out to become a knowledgeable individual. Well, I mean, I think we have been discussing about 21st century skills and two skills which have been given as a broad spectrum by Lamia. Again, another two are still awaited to be discussed about that you are talking about. Four C's are very important, as you said. One, that is communication, wherein we have gone for an extension of knowing more about how to communicate on a digital platform and what all suggestions parents must take out from this platform today to help their children learn the things precisely. Another was their critical thinking, wherein a term exploration came. Lamia, I would come back to you that how would certainly in any school or any preschool or any holistic childhood center that we have been into associated with, we wanted our children to be explorative, but there must be some paradigm set for that, and we are trying the best of our level to provide those activities which can make them very much involved into exploration and come out with some findings about it. So, is there any suggestion in your mind for the age group of 3 plus to 6 years wherein we can
Yes.
involve them? Yes, please.
Yes, of course. Critical thinking, if we want to, a best way to build critical thinking from very early stage is through have a rich and open-ended play. If they
Okay.
can have enough things to play with. And so we need to make sure that the child has time each day to play either by himself or herself alone or with their friends. So there should be enough time to play. And what happens like this play might include, include taking some kind of roles like pretending like firefighters or superheroes. Sometimes they can play with building structures and playing board games and playing outside of outside with physical games if that is actually not possible at the moment, but still as much as we can. Then whatever we can make them play with. So it is very important what happens when they play. The children formulate some hypotheses within themselves. They
Yes.
learn to take risks and they try out their ideas, and the same time they make mistakes with their friends, wherever they're communicating, whoever they're communicating with. And while they're making mistakes, they are also finding the solutions at the same time. So all these things, actually, all these are essential elements to build critical thinking. So if we are talking about critical thinking, so we need to engage our little ones to have enough time to play rather than sitting in front of devices. We need to let them play as much as possible.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Lamia, I think I would take this privilege to speak it out to the speaker, I mean, all the viewers today, that, and it's a happy say rather, that at Little Wings Holistic Childhood Center, the free play has been devised rather, in the name of Tiny Toes, wherein, children are given a lot more of freedom to explore the things and do everything significantly on the basis of their own understanding. That is how the, critical thinking is coming up. And
Yes.
rightly said that thinking must end up with a solution. Finding a solution to a problem is the problem of today's scenario. When the people are not able to find the solutions, we are sitting on our gadget to pass on a lot of WhatsApp messages. This should be done, that should be done, but we don't have the solution to the problems which are there around us. So 21st century means children must learn how to find a solution to the problems. And through the activity that has been suggested by Lamia just now, I am pretty sure children would be reaching out to that state wherein they would be capable of taking decisions. Now, at one point of time in critical thinking, I started pondering and I came to a conclusion that experimentation also is very important. During the process of that play, probably they experiment. But is it there? I would come to Mahjabeen in this regard if you have got some idea to share with us. Can we proceed with a guided experimentation with the children at this level, especially when we are talking about small children from 3 to 6 years of age? Yeah.
So we are talking about 3 to 6 years old. They're very small, very cute. Maybe it's not, many of us may think it's not relevant to think about critical thinking because they have very small level of thinking, if I may say that. But it is a very, very important issue because they need to have a very strong foundation. If they have a
Okay.
strong foundation, then they'll be able to grow more. This is what I think. And when it comes to experimental, you said about guided experimental, I forgot the word.
Guided experiments that they should be engaged into. Yeah.
Yes, they should be. If we give, like Lamia Appa said, we should let them play. When we are letting them play, for example, in some game, we should let them make their own rules. So they will
Okay.
think about it and they make their own rules how to play. And rather than following the tradition rule that has been going on for years, why not make our own rules and think more about this? Think out of the box. If this cannot be done as according to plan A, can we follow plan B? This is very important. This helps them to share their ideas, organize their ideas, and also sharing their views. Like, since they'll be playing in teams, this teaches them team building, how to work
Okay.
in teams.
Yes.
And in this way, they know how to wait for their turns, how to express their opinions, and this improves their social skills as well. Like, they will have arguments, they will have disagreements, but again, at the end of the day, they are friends. They'll definitely come to a point where everybody agrees to the same thing.
Correct, correct, correct. That's a wonderful idea, rather, because, dear viewers, we are very clear that critical thinking in a child if has to be inculcated. A child needs a complete freedom to explore, experiment, and do the best that they can do, making their own rules. And that is exactly what every holistic center should do in order to ensure that the children of this age group, especially 3 to 6 years, start learning and exploring the things on their own. Unless and until they experiment, unless and until they explore, unless and until there is a finding in their minds, the significant growth of thinking would not take place. Thinking out of the box also is very important in life. So, Lamia, how do you define thinking out of the box? Well, critical thinking includes the thinking out of the box. Something that a child thinks becomes unique of its own
Yeah, the
kind.
thing,
Yeah.
yes, we need to actually encourage them to think from different angles. So we adults, we think in from our own perspective, but the children, they have their own ideas, they have their own thoughts. So whenever they're coming to talking to you, so if we can encourage the child to think from another perspective when we hear their opinion. Say, for example, if in a game one person has not got a chance, so if we can teach our children that, okay, your friend, he or she has not got a chance, how do you think we can help them?
Yes.
How do you think, what are they're feeling? So and what can we do about it? So if we ask these questions when we talk about these issues to the child, I mean, our children, they will be able to think from others' perspective as well. So we can always give them an option. We can always encourage them to think or to ask question. Why he is not eating enough? Why a child, is at the same age not having proper dress the way he or she is having? So these kind of things, like when they're asking questions, we sometimes we tend to avoid the questions. We try to avoid the answers. We try to hide the reality sometimes. But
Yes.
we really, as a parent, as an educator, need to give them enough information, like according to their age level, of course, so that they understand what other child is feeling, how they are feeling when they are not according to their level, how their emotions are, why someone has act in different way. So we need to keep asking these questions. We need to give them source of thoughts that way they can also think about. So this way we can always keep them engaged in a proper, so we can actually train their brain to go towards a positive and proper direction, so they can keep on asking question. And this is another critical thing to be a critical thinker, to ask question.
All
So
right.
as a child should be asking question, and we should try to be more patient about it, and to reply and to answer those questions.
Right.
So
So, three things
yeah.
came out of it, Lamia, and it's so wonderful, dear viewers. Once again, I would like to put it across to you what really should be the practice in 21st century. The very first thing is there, we need to learn how to pay respect to their perspectives. There are different perspectives of different people. Child also has got a perspective, and we should not deny the perspective of a child. Second, very important, that wearing the hat of the others, or maybe wearing the shoes of the others. Put yourself at the place of a person who is really the sufferer. In today's scenario, as an adult, we do not have a feeling for others. It's only because we do not try to put ourselves in place of others. Right. If the child learns to do that, naturally the society is likely to be a healthy society in due course of time. And we are praying to God for that. So perspectives must be respected. In critical thinking, out of box thinking comes out of it, that makes a child unique. And we must also feel what other people are there feeling. Keeping the engagement as the first priority for all the teachers over there who are watching us, that you must have a patience, as Lamia has rightly said, to listen to a child. Old traditional method is there. Whenever a child tries to raise the hand and to stand up, he has been or she has been snubbed in the classrooms. The situation has turned around now. I mean, you cannot do this. So all the teachers do take away from this platform today that you need to be more patient in listening to what a child has to say. And probably that is more valuable in order to make the child rethink and think more about any other issues.
And
So, good,
I add
yeah,
one point here,
Nazarene, yes, please.
if we welcome their ideas and we encourage them to put their ideas, to express their ideas to us, they will feel more confident. This will grow their self-confidence
Correct.
in contributing their ideas, because we people tend to shut them down. There are
Yeah,
people, teachers, with due respect to them, maybe because of lack of time, lack of some other resources, we don't encourage students to ask so many irrelevant questions, but that might be relevant to that student's thought of mind. So if their ideas are welcomed, it boosts their self-confidence, which is very, very important again regarding this 21st century skill.
right, right. So, making and building a confidence of a child is even more important than that of allowing them to go for a free thinking and coming out with their perceptions. That's true. And this is how we can build up a better society, basically blessed with such unique children who can think critically and bring a lot more of laurels to the country. Well, so two points that we have discussed today was the communication and the critical thinking. I'll come back once again to Lamia. Please throw light on the third and the fourth one, because two C's are another important C's for the 21st century. Yeah.
Another one would be the collaboration,
Okay.
which is also very important skill, collaboration. And here under collaboration, it's again a huge platform, collaboration. what do we mean by collaboration? It is collaboration across the network. Its ability to adopt as well. So whichever situation you are, how you're adapting. And so it is also very important how collaboratively we can solve the problem. At the same time, we need to think about cultural competency as well. So when we are in a group, there are different uh, types of people with a different background, different cultural background, different language background. So we need to be able to collaborate with all of them. So it is very important to welcome. So whenever we will be able to teach these to our children, they will be able to collaborate with everyone, no matter from which background they are. So they are going to be citizen of the world, so they need to welcome all background. And while they're collaborating, what will happen is their leadership skill, as Meher said, will be definitely grow, because they are being able to mix with them, they're able to solve a problem within a group. So it is very important to have being able to collaborate with others. uh, and the last four C would be creativity. And so we students, we see that we have as a parents and teachers, we have uh, really set of creative things, but we need to think from their perspective view, like
Yes.
creativity, what creativity the child has. It's their
Yes.
curiosity, it is their
Right.
imagination, how they can imagine. In
Mm.
you We cannot even think what they are imagining.
Right.
So their imagination is actually going to be the future. So we need to let them imagine. We need to let them be curious about things. We need to let them, take some initiatives, maybe towards unknown, but because we are talking about, very small children here, so we need to be careful, but we need to give them a safe place, so where we can explore a little bit, so they can understand. And more importantly, creativity, actually we need to encourage them to hands-on learning as well. So whenever they're going to learn with their hands, they're going to involve all their senses. When they're learning, their creativity will explode. So we
Yes.
need to let them imagine as much as they can. So it's very important.
So one thing again comes forth, rather, dear viewers, that if you want to have a knowledge explosion, it's important that the imagination of the child should be nurtured. Not only that, at the same time, when we talk about collaboration, we must have been facing in day-to-day life that people are hardly comfortable in accommodating with others. There is no teamwork. We do not take the entire team together, or we do not develop a rapport. Maybe the interpersonal relationship is not so very well, taken care of. So ultimately, the child would become an individual with all these qualities when we try deliberately to inculcate all these 21st century skills among them. And for teachers, although these things seep in automatically through the activities that we plan out throughout the day and throughout the month or throughout the year, we have to be very specific and very, very much deliberate in charting out these activities wherein children are involved and observed properly to participate, and to take the things in the right spirit. Fine. So the third point, which is very relevant and important, Majami, I would again come back to you in this connection, that Lamia had emphasized more about creativity in terms of developing collaborative learning. A lot many things do come up. What do you think, if the children are given a way to imagine, think, and then come out with some collaborative suggestions, how do we take it up at this stage, especially because children can think anything and they can
Yes,
come out with,
definitely.
yeah, yeah,
We in our school we have 1 or 2 day sessions like this when we let the child be free to draw, to dress up. Like it's a free day for them, what they want to do in life, what they want to be in life. And I was really surprised with one child's, like it was a free dress as you like. That child dressed up as her mother.
Oh,
She said
wow.
she wants to be a housewife
That's
just
wonderful.
because she explained this very nicely. She was just a kid of 8 years old. And she said that, Miss, I want to be a housewife because of my mother, my brothers, my father, my grandfather, and myself. We are all getting what we need. So I think my mother is the most important person in the family. This never came to probably many of the people's mind. This
That's
is not,
wonderful.
this is absolutely wonderful. Like, we do not give credit to this job, but it is a job which is 24/7 there, unpaid job, thankless job, but the most important job. So we don't know what do the children have in their mind, but they have very, very creative ideas. And when we talk about collaboration, we must give them ideas about, like Lamiapa said, what the other person is thinking. We must expose them to different cultures. Like, how do the different children behave of at your age? Like, Bangladeshi children are behaving in which way? Indian children are behaving in which way? Similarly, the Western world, how are they behaving? Like, if we talk about three different countries, we'll see at the same age, three children are behaving in three different ways. They have three different ways of eating, thinking, sleeping, speaking, greeting, everything is different, but their age is same. So they need to think about this. They need to be exposed to this kind of changes. They need to be exposed to this kind of cultures so that when they grow up, they don't have any sort of culture shock. Because at the end of the day, when they grow up, they'll definitely be going to be global citizens, because we are in globalization now. So they'll be global citizens. So they need to incorporate everything in their life. This,
Correct.
whether we talk about collaboration, creativity, everything.
Okay. So one thing again is very much clear that children, if are there allowed to learn the collaborative skills, they would certainly turn out to become a global citizen because they would be exposed to a lot many thinking ability. They would be exposed to a lot many imaginations. They will be given a free hand. The way Majveen has quoted in a curriculum one day given especially to the children to do whatever they want to do. You know,
Yes.
I think even at home we do not ask in today's scenario, बच्चा आपको क्या करना है पूरा दिन. We normally we monitor them and we give them the list of do's and don'ts. At home
Maybe
even
it starts
otherwise.
from early in the morning. You
It
start
starts from early in the
early in
morning.
the
Yeah.
morning, yes, till
Yes.
they go to bed. Do this
Right.
and don't do this.
Right. So we have been giving this, list of do's and don'ts only to our children at home. And if it is followed even at school, where would the children go to get the liberty to learn the collaborative skills as
Yeah,
such?
let me add a little bit, Nishesh, here.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I think
Lamia.
we as a parent also need to, you need to give them a space so that they can be more creative. Like in our country, it is not really practiced that we take our children to the library. We really don't. Like we have libraries in schools, so teachers take them to the library, like the small ones. But in our culture, we don't have that, taking our small children to the library. But we need to do that as a parents as well, so they
True.
know that there is a huge source of information, source of um, source there that they can love the books,
Right,
right?
right.
And again, we as a parents, we can keep some craft supplies at home, so they can do experiments with those things. It is not only on us, like educators, that we cannot actually give enough time for each student to be creative. So we in school have a certain set of curriculum, certain things they can only do. But as a parent, we can try to let them explore more. So in this area, we can just give them different types of board games, different times of game time. And it is very important. Again, I must say the game is very important. Sport is very important in their life. So whatever game they can do, they can play, it's very important. And we parents also need to allow our kids to do some messes in our home. Sometimes we really don't let them make mess at home, but we really need to let them do some messes.
Yes.
And also from there, they can also learn how to tidy up as well.
Correct.
But let them do some messes as well.
Right.
Yes, we can let them clean their own room.
Yeah, exactly.
Their own room.
Exactly. Right.
Clean their own reading table. Yeah.
Correct. So if I'm not wrong, Lamia and Nazmi both, I think library is another aspect of 21st century skills, library skills, which has now been forgotten. Rather. If you ask a set of students today, even in the primary, secondary, or senior secondary, do you know how to see the encyclopedia? Probably hardly one child will be saying out of 100, yes, I know how to turn up the pages of encyclopedia, how to find out a particular word and its definition over there. So library and literary, skills are both clubbed together to make it a 21st century skills. Rightly said that we are not in a habit of taking the children to the library, parents especially. Why not to make it? And very good statement here. I would speak out about Little Wings Holistic Childhood Center. We have got a beautiful setup of library on the campus wherein we allow the mom, the dad, and the children to come in the evening and sit together to browse the books. That's a very regular phenomena on this campus. And all the USP, if I would be basically talking to you, you would come to know that it is all in line of the 21st century skills improvement to a large extent. But yes, your ideas and suggestions coming up straight away from Bangladesh to India naturally is a great, great support to all of us in order to make the things better and also to ensure that we do not leave behind even a single child in terms of inculcating 21st century skills among them. Well, third point also is over, rather. I come again back to Lamia for the fourth point, and then we'll proceed with this discussion. What was the fourth one, Lamia, that you pointed out? There were 4 C's.
Fourth one was creativity.
Okay,
And
creativity. So
yeah.
you took up creativity and this is together, collaboration, right?
Collaboration. Yeah, I talked about collaboration first, and then I talked about creativity. Yeah.
Okay. So,
I would add one
Nazmi,
point, if you allow me, Nishesh.
please,
When
carry
Lamia
on.
Appa talked about collaboration, and she's pointed out a very, very good point that we should let the child play games. Games and collaboration, I think they go together simultaneously, because when you are playing some kind of game or any kind of sports, you need to be very, very collaborative with your team members, with your coach, or with your mentors, because sports is a very good platform to learn how to be focused, how to maintain time, how to be punctual, and how to achieve your goals. So these two, I think, go simultaneously together.
Absolutely correct, Najmi. And I
And
would go ahead of, Lamia, once
yes,
again, you wanted to say
I
something.
was just thinking, not only, we can also add that we need to teach our children to make connections as well. So what we are learning, maybe from the book, from where we're getting the information, we need to translate that in our real life so we can implement that. And that is very important, so they can find the connection between what they're learning and what the real scenario. And from we can do it from the home, from the very young stage as well, because we are talking about very young children. So we can give them to sort their socks, for example. They can do that. They can count, and they can at the same time pick up their socks, pick up their toys. So these are very simple things we can do. Like, we can ask them whether you can, what kind of clothes you should be wearing, because today it's raining, so they can choose their clothing appropriately for the weather as well. So it is very important that we start to make this connection from home, not only in school, but also from home as well. Again, when we are reading something, we can also relate, we can ask them to relate the story with real life scenario. Like if we read a story, we can we can say that this story reminds me of my grandfather,
Yes,
or this reminds me of picking seashells. So, this kind of thing. We need to just not reading a story, but also at the end to relate it with the real life scenario.
situation. Yeah,
Yeah.
correct, correct, correct. Well, I would go one step ahead of giving this a statement that when we were talking about sports and collaboration, uh, sports is the only platform where failures are taken into the right stride. When you fail in sports, you are not detained in the class. You are given another chance to perform.
Right,
Right. When you
right.
fail in a class, then the school decides about detaining you and repeating the same class. But this is something very wonderful, and parents, you must realize this, because from this platform we wanted to put it very strongly that do not ever delve into getting the scores and grades for your children.
Yes,
Do not
yes,
emphasize most of the time upon their academic knowledge, rather A, B, C, D, or maybe anything else that carry on. But if your child is basically involved into a lot more of sporting activities at school, you should feel happy. Find out a place where your child is given a free hand to explore. Find out a place where your child is allowed to question. Because these are what we call 21st century skills today. But before we end up, one very Herculean question which is coming up once again. Najmi, I'm coming back to you. Uh, should it be necessary to incorporate the 21st century skills in the curriculum,
yes,
or
definitely.
or should we do it separately in an extended hours? This is a Herculean question. Most of the time, the center heads of the institutions, the principals of the institutions, and the leaders, pedagogical leaders, they simply say that we have to cover up a syllabus. So, when we talk about 21st century skills inculcation, how far will it be, possible for those mindsets, especially, to incorporate it in the curriculum? Or finally, they would end up doing it in the evening, wherein parents are finding it difficult to reach out to that place for allowing the children to learn something. Okay. So, what do you suggest, Najimi?
I think this is very, very important to have during the school hours, because learning is more than just memorizing and remembering and putting in your exam scripts and getting marks. It's way beyond that. And after school hours, if we keep the children again back at school, or we extend the timing, as a parent, I don't think the child or myself, we are going to have a very good time. The child will be tired and the teachers will be tired. Why not we inculcate these small things in our syllabus, in our subjects? Like, if I am a business studies teacher, why don't I provide some real life case studies which are actually happening around the world, and let the child find out the problems and the solutions? If you are teaching history or some other subjects, like, why not we incorporate this 21st century skills or the ways of learning this in the subjects? We relate the skills with the subject so that they don't have to stay back after school, because they need sports, they need to take rest, they need to have some time of their own, they need to
Yes,
have some family time as well, which, like, we already are in a rush all the time. We parents, students, every time we are just competing, competing, competing. Why don't we compete with ourselves only? Why do we have to compete with others? This is a very big issue. Like, the parents, they're all the time competing with the other children. If that child has got 8 stars, why not my child? This way, the whole day the child is occupied with so many things. So I think if
that,
we can
yes,
incorporate these skills in the teaching method of our own subjects,
right.
then it's the work is done.
Okay. Lamia, what do you feel about it? I mean, incorporating into a curriculum and then devising a syllabus out of it, or maybe incorporating just stilly in a subject what Najmi has suggested. because there is a way out of it, and I wanted that today from this platform we must put it across to the parents and the teachers how to incorporate 21st century skills. Otherwise, all our discussions would be having no meaning if they are not incorporated properly in the teaching learning process, the pedagogical aspects. Probably things will not come up the way we want. All right, Lamia, what is your
Yeah.
opinion about it? Yes.
I think it should be irrespective of any subject, not only school, but irrespective of any subject, be it maths, physics, chemistry, or history, or geography. All subjects should be included. I mean, 21st century skills should be included in all subjects, and also not only in education centers, but also at home.
Right.
So we need to culture. We need to build this culture of
Okay. Okay.
21st century skills everywhere for
Right.
our children, because they're going to face it, and we need to
Right.
prepare them for this, future world. So I think it should be incorporated everywhere.
Correct. But dear viewers, we have discussed a lot about 21st century today, and I must tell you that it is very important in today's scenario to incorporate 21st century skills in the curriculum of any school. Right from the very beginning, we talk about the preschoolers. We must age appropriate things must be planned out precisely to be incorporated, and its implementation also is one very important aspect to be taken care of, because once we talk about incorporating 21st century skills, which has got a broad spectrum and a lot more of activities are to be charted out, we have to depend upon the teaching learning pedagogy of interdisciplinary aspects, and all subjects should get related to one another in such a way, woven in another way, that things come up in the right perspective for the children. They do not just dive with the covering of the syllabus. As rightly said, and I have always been emphasizing upon whenever I talk to my teachers in my symposiums and seminar, I say, let us not cover the syllabus, it is to be uncovered. Unless you uncover the syllabus, things would not come up to the right expectations. Well, this is all for today. I'm thankful to you, Lamia and Mahjami from Bangladesh. My salute to Bangladesh, because you have got connected with us today, and we shall be having a long-term association to exchange the ideas and the views, so that in India we all make the things better. So before we go, I think in Bangladesh I would say Shabak Khair to you people, and that would be a better term rather used from here. Good night, dear viewers. Thank you so much for watching all of us live on Facebook. Thanks
Thank you,
a
Vishesh.
lot.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank
Welcome.
you. Thanks
Welcome.
a lot.